Welcome to another part of the CoreTrustSeal requirements video series. In this series, we talk you through the new CoreTrustSeal requirements for the period of 2023 to 25. You will learn about the details of each requirement, the evidence expected from applicants, extended guidance, and the changes compared to the previous version of the requirements. This video covers requirement number 5. The fifth requirement of the CoreTrustSeal is governance and resources, and it reads as follows. The repository has adequate funding and sufficient numbers of staff managed through a clear system of governance to effectively carry out the mission. Why is this a requirement of a trustworthy digital repository? This requirement reflects a need for transparency of financing, governance, responsibilities, and decision-making. In a similar vein of requirement number 3, which details that depositors and users must be able to trust the continuity of service of the repository, requirement 5 dictates that a trusted digital repository should have the appropriate governance and resources to carry its mission adequately. The repository should have sufficient funding, staff resources, IT resources, and a budget for external engagement when necessary to make sure it can meet its obligations. Depositors and users should feel assured that the repository can adequately offer the service it promises. The evidence that is needed in the response statement for this requirement should demonstrate that the repository has a clear system of governance and sufficient human and financial resources to carry out its mission. Evidence needed in the response statement includes descriptions and diagrams of governance bodies, groups, and hierarchies to make the organization's governance or management, decision-making processes, and the entities involved clear. Information on how often periodical renewal occurs for operational costs and recruitment. It is understood that permanent ongoing funding cannot be perfectly quantified or guaranteed. It's also needed to provide evidence that the repository is or is hosted by a recognized institution supporting long-term stability and sustainability, appropriate to its designated community. It's also needed to demonstrate that the repository can meet its obligations, including sufficient funding, staff resources, IT resources, and a budget for external engagement when necessary. Other relevant information could include the balance of structural versus project funding, the total number of full-time equivalent employees, and the proportions of staff employed on a permanent or temporary basis. On the topic of funding, it is acknowledged that repositories work under a range of different funding models and often with limited resources, but demonstrating awareness of these issues is important to trustworthiness. It is acknowledged that past funding is not a guarantee of future funding, but it may be indicative to state the historical timescale of the repository. The availability of appropriate expertise is covered under requirement number 6, expertise. A couple of example statements from applications are presented here to further explain some aspects of the evidence that is expected for requirement number 5. Please note that these are merely examples of aspects of the requirement and by no means are complete response statements. In the first example, the repository may well explain their structure and governance in the response statement, but cannot produce a link for a public display of this information. This lack of transparency warrants critical feedback, and the repository should be urged to include this information on their public website. The second example shows a repository that has different funding streams, which are all detailed. If the years mentioned cover the certification period, this shows a promising indication of stable funding. The response could be further solidified by including details on previous funding, though it is recognized that previous funding does not guarantee future funding. Additional information showing awareness of potential issues and solutions surrounding funding would improve the answer even further. The third example shows how a repository can solidify sustainability by being linked to a recognized institution. This is still no guarantee for adequate resources, but it is a useful indication of stability. The last example is not wrong in terms of content, but this type of information should be put under requirement number 6 on expertise and should not be placed here. Very little has changed for this requirement compared to the previous version of the CoreTrustSeal requirements. The place and order and structure of the requirements has remained unchanged. This requirement is still number 5, and it's still related to the topic of organizational infrastructure. The name of the requirement has changed to more accurately reflect the scope of the requirement. Other changes in the requirement and its guidance text were made to better avoid overlap with the other requirements and to bring clarity to the applicants and reviewers on the expected evidence and information in the response statement. This concludes the instruction on requirement number 5 of the new CoreTrustSeal requirements. Similar instruction videos can be found on all the other requirements on the CoreTrustSeal YouTube channel. You can find the full set of new requirements for the period of 2023 to 25 on the CoreTrustSeal website. If you have any remaining questions or would like more information, please contact CoreTrustSeal using the email address shown here.